Today, I'm going to share with you the problem of comparison, and what better place to do that than Dubai, where everything is bigger and better. And you see, that's actually the first problem, is that there's always going to be someone with more There's bigger, faster, smarter, richer, prettier, and what does that make us feel sometimes? That kind of makes us feel a little bit, sad. And so what do? We look for people with less, maybe heavier, uglier, poorer. And what does that do? It makes some of us feel like this. For some of us, that makes us feel superior. You see, but for some of us, is just not enough. We want est. We want the smartest, the happiest, the richest, the most satisfied est. But you see, there's no win in comparison. In fact, comparison puts the dis in discontentment. And you see, discontentment, when it's fueled by comparison, can actually be a little bit dangerous. Let me tell you about that. Today, some of you might be carrying debt because you stared at someone's lifestyle just a little bit too long. Today, maybe some of you are just dieting yourself today. You're always hangry. Some of you are pushing your kids past their limit because you're always comparing them to someone else's kid who's accomplishing so much or doing it a certain way, and you're ruining the relationship with your kid because of it. Some of you are working yourself to death, whether that be academically, like you're only going to settle for the best of the best in your class. Or some of you are just working so many hours that you end up ruining the relationship with your family. And some of you just can't get along with your brother or sister because they have something that you just can't have. Well, today we're going to look at what the wisest man has to say about this comparison trap. He's lived a long life. He's been wealthier than all of us probably put together. He's done more than all of us put together. And he's downloading his information. He's downloading his life experience. He's writing it down so that we can learn from him. Here's what he says. He says, "And I saw that all toil, all work, and all achievement, all your goal setting spring from one person's envy of another." This is a problem that they dealt with 3,000 years ago. This is not just a 2022 problem where we see TV shows like Dubai Bling. This is a problem that they had 3,000 years ago. I think what he's saying, in other words, I looked all around and I looked at everyone, and everyone is comparing where they are in life, where someone else is. And then he says this, after looking at all that and thinking through all that, he says this: "This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind." I mean, have you ever tried to chase the wind, right? It's like impossible. You run after it and you think you catch it, and then it goes another direction. It turns another direction. That's how comparison is. It's endless. It's pointless. There's no finish line. There's no trophy because there's no winner. There's no peace. There's just more and there's no win in comparison. It's dissatisfaction guaranteed. So here's what I want you to do. When you begin to feel that envy coming on, when you feel like you just don't measure up, I want you to stop and say, I'm not going to chase after the win. You see, because there's always going to be more bigger, faster, stronger. Fools fold their hands and ruin themselves. Solomon's saying is that fools say this, that if they can't keep up, I'm just not even going to try. If there's so many excuses, they have better parents than me, they have more money than me, I'm just not even going to try. It's not even worth it. But he's saying fools think that way. So Solomon, he continues, and he takes these two extremes, and of the extreme of don't chase after the wind, and takes this extreme of fools just folding their hands, and he gives us the middle ground. And some of you here today, you just need to memorize this next verse. Here's what Solomon says: "Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind." So Solomon said this: it's better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and striving after the wind. You know what tranquility is? Tranquility is satisfaction. See, tranquility is going to your rich friend's house and you're going to their birthday party, and you pull up and they have Lamborghinis and Ferraris in the parking lot, and then you go into this beautiful house. It's decorated so nicely, and then they have this beautiful food, and it's just an amazing time. And then you drive home in your Honda or your Toyota or whatever car it is, and you go into your parking spot at your apartment or your garage at your house, and you think to yourself, I'm so happy for them. That was an amazing party. They are so blessed. I love that. You see, that's tranquility. That's satisfaction. Here's another problem with comparison. Who or what are you going to use as your reference point to tell you that you're doing okay, that you're doing all right? Is it going to be maybe your neighbor who has the fancy car next door? Is it going to be your boss who has like the perfect job for you? Is it going to be your brother-in-law who keeps upping you? Is it going to be maybe a dollar amount in the bank? Is it going to be some sort of recognition, maybe a perfect 4.0 GPA? Is it going to be the neighborhood that you want to live in? See, we have to look to where we get our value from some point. If there's not a God, well, then looking around us, I think that makes sense to try to find out where we get our value from. But if there is a God, then how does that affect our propensity to compare, to envy? Because he tells us that you can't win by chasing after the wind. I think a good way to look at this is to look to others for inspiration, not imitation. Jordan Peterson has another way of looking at it, and I think it's really good as well. He says this: compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to where someone else is today. I think that's so good. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. That yesterday I did all right, but I screwed up in a few areas. Today, I'm not going to screw up in those areas again. I'm going to make myself a little bit better than I was yesterday. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to say to yourself, I'm not going to chase after the wind. I'm going to make myself better and better every single day, but I'm not going to look to the left or to the right. I'm going to run my race. I'm going to make myself better every single day, but I'm not going to compare myself to others. Let me tell you my story. So when I first started out as a pastor, I was working 60 to 80 hours every week. And I did that for 3 years. And after about the third year, I read this email from Kerry Newhoff, who is a pastor up in Canada who eventually burned himself out. And he wrote an email, and it was titled this: 11 things I wish I knew before I burned out. So I'm reading this email, and I'm reading through all of them. And really 6 or 7 out of that 11, I was like, oh, that's me. See, I was headed towards a burnout. Things needed to change. So me and my wife, Ella, we got together, and we got together with our life coach, and we came up with a plan on how to work less. If I boil it down to, I think, what I was doing, the problem behind all of it was that I just didn't trust God enough. I was trying to do it all myself. And so what I had to do is I had to say, okay, God, I'm gonna work less. I'm gonna take care of my family. I'm gonna take care of myself. I started playing tennis, and I had to work less and trust God to do His part. And so this past year has been great. I've been working a lot less. It hasn't affected the church at all. In fact, over the past 18 months, we've grown by 3 times. We've went from 60 to about 180 in average attendance. So I think God rewards people who trust Him. If you say, God, you're going to have to do your part, and I'm going to do my part, and you trust Him, I think God rewards that type of behavior. So let's end today with talking about some questions that might help you think, or might help you realize if you're in a comparison trap. So here's some questions I want you to consider as we close today. Here they are. Are you exhausted from trying to keep up with, you fill in the blank? Are you broke from trying to keep up with, fill in the blank? Are you allowing others to have, are you allowing what others have to keep you from enjoying what you have? Do you enjoy your kids, or are you driving them crazy trying to keep up with everyone else? And who would you secretly enjoy seeing fail? Relationally, financially, or professionally? And then, are you chasing after the wind? Well, I hope that you can think through those and you can process it. See if you have fallen into the comparison trap, because there is no win in comparison. Have a great day. We'll see you next week. Take care.